Am I the a-hole for only taking my younger brother out instead of our other half-siblings? My brother 16 male and I 24 male are pretty close. When we were young, my dad left us and our mom. Turns out, for years he had a secret family with another woman that he decided he wanted to be with. For years, we stopped having contact, and I hated my dad for how he broke our mom. When I was 20, my mom passed away, and my dad came back to our lives. My brother was 12, and he was to go with my mom's sister, but Dad stopped that because he wanted him with them. I wished he could come with me then, but didn't have money to take care of him since I was still in school. They got 4 other kids, and my brother hates it there. One half-brother who's a year older, then one same age as my brother, 2 are 14 twins, and the youngest I think is like 12. They all give him crap and I've seen it too. Make jokes about how our dad chose them over us. Say crap about our mom. His wife doesn't like my brother, so she doesn't do anything but encourage it. My dad's a freaking coward, so he doesn't do anything either. I try to spend every weekend or free time I got with my brother, and we always go out to fun places. I'm out of school and working, so it's easier to see him every day or have him sleep over. My dad lets me see him whenever I want, and knows he can't say no to me because we have a deal. The thing is, his wife and my half-siblings get mad now that I take him to all these cool places, like Six Flags, Universal Studios, the Grand Canyon, skiing, football games, snorkeling, camping, horse riding, etc. But they're always stuck at home. My dad keeps asking me if I could start including them in our outings, and I told him no. Not with how he lets them treat him, and my brother can't stand them. Him and his wife keep saying I'm alienating my other family, and maybe if I started including them, we'd learn to get along. Still, I've said no, and told my dad to drop it or I'll go back on our deal. He stopped pushing it, but his wife still keeps saying stuff whenever I come to pick up my brother. They're mostly mad now because in a few weeks, I'm flying my brother to Florida for his birthday, so I can check out the amusement parks. Some of my friends do think I'm being the a-hole because they're my siblings and I'm the oldest, so should be trying to get along. Just don't want to do anything to them for always being horrible to my brother. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Okay, you all gave some really good information and tried to get custody now in comments, so thank you so much. I'm gonna look into it and see what options we might have. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole, but info. What's this deal you have with your father? Also, if you went for custody for your brother, the courts would probably grant it, especially if the judge asks your brother where he wants to live. I don't tell his wife about him, that will mess up their marriage. It's the only leverage I have, or he wouldn't let me see my brother. I don't know if the court would allow that even if my brother said he wants to live with me since it's my dad. As soon as your brother is out of that house and away from those awful people, tell your dad's wife all about your dad. Make sure his other children are in the room too. Then when you're done, just look at your dad and say, "Oops," and walk out. But I'm petty like that. Definitely not the a-hole. If your dad and stepmom are so concerned about the rest of the children not having fun, they can take them on their own. I mean, it's not like they were concerned about you and your brother having fun when they broke up your family and you both ended up struggling for years. If the half-siblings want to complain, tell them to ask your dad to take them places since he picked them over you. I mean, if he loved them so much, he'd obviously get a second job to take them on vacations. If your stepmom complains about them needing to strengthen family bonds, explain that you and your brother are a family, and your bonds are extremely tight. If she wants to strengthen her own bonds, you can give her some recommendations on places to take her kids. I'd even show her some amazing pictures of you and your brothers on some amazing vacations, and tell her how much fun you had at those places. Bonus points if your half-siblings are in the room while you tell them about all the great times you had with your family, and how close it has made you and your brother. Tell your dad to grow the hell up. They're not siblings. They refused to acknowledge that and treated your brother like garbage. Your stepmom encouraged that behavior and they deserve everything that's coming. That's your dad's fault for cheating on your mother and creating a secret life, and now karma will slowly creep in. You can get along by talking to them and going over, but you don't have to take them out to trips at amusement parks. They've burnt that bridge, and it's up to them to rebuild it if they want you on their side. It's awesome to see that you're taking care of your brother. Just a question, do you plan to take him in when you're able to? Seems like he'd be way better off with you than with your dad. Your dad took him in but doesn't treat him like a son. I don't talk to them at all when I go there. My brother comes out the house and will leave. Just started working a better job over a year ago and making more, so that's why it's easier now to do more stuff with him. He wants to leave and plan is he'll come with me when it's possible. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my father-in-law what his wife has been saying about him on the internet? My wife's mom and stepdad separated about 18 months ago. From my understanding, the cause was that stepdad wanted to let his 2 adult children move into their home after both of his kids lost their jobs due to COVID and needed a place to stay. But mother-in-law was totally against it. At first, stepdad obeyed his wife's wishes, but he eventually heard his son was sleeping in his car after losing his apartment and told both his kids they could come. Mother-in-law was furious and would call my wife almost daily to complain about it. Mother-in-law and stepdad got into a big fight about it, and when stepdad told her that he wasn't going to kick his kids out and have them be homeless, mother-in-law left. Mother-in-law has been basically couch surfing ever since. She stayed with us for a few 2 to 3 week stints. It has bounced around her other siblings the rest of the time. Stepdad's daughter moved out last year, but his son still stays with him and trying to save money to move out. Mother-in-law refuses to go back until stepdad's son is gone. At this point, stepdad and mother-in-law are no longer talking. I'm actually pretty close with stepdad, as he helped me with numerous home projects after my wife and I bought our first home. He feels like he's stuck between a rock and a hard place because he loves mother-in-law and wants her to come back, but he also doesn't want his son sleeping in his car again. Mother-in-law has told my wife and I that she refuses counseling because she doesn't think she's done anything wrong, and she won't file for divorce because she doesn't have a job and needs stepdad's income and health insurance. She also feels that stepdad won't file for divorce either because she knows he would feel guilty about cutting her off from insurance. Over the last year, mother-in-law has been posting a lot of stuff on Facebook about stepdad. A lot of bad-mouthing him, calling him names, saying mean things about his kids, and that the only thing stepdad is good for is money and health insurance. Stepdad doesn't have Facebook, so he doesn't know what mother-in-law has been saying about him. A few months ago, I was helping stepdad move an appliance, and he told me how much he missed mother-in-law and wanted her to come back. I felt bad hearing how much she was hurting, and told him I needed to see something. I showed him mother-in-law's Facebook feed and all the bad things she's been saying. He broke down crying, but eventually pulled himself together enough to let me help him screenshot posts and save them. A couple of weeks ago, mother-in-law called my wife in hysterics because stepdad had actually filed for divorce. After they got done talking, my wife talked to me about it, and I came clean that I showed stepdad what mother-in-law has been saying about him online. My wife was irate about it and told me that it was none of my business to do that, and that I shouldn't have meddled in their relationship. I told her stepdad deserved to know what mother-in-law was saying about him, but my wife told me I'm a huge a-hole because if her mom finds out it was me who told stepdad, then mother-in-law will never forgive me and it will cause a huge rift in her relationship with her mom. Wow, not an a-hole. You did the right thing. I would be worried that your wife might take after her mother a bit, though. Yeesh. Why does your mother-in-law hate his kids so much? My wife's relationship with her mother is complicated. My wife moved out when she was 17. I didn't talk much her entire time in college. It wasn't until she finished college, became a young adult, that she tried to rekindle the relationship with her mother. They still aren't incredibly close. Mother-in-law thinks her stepkids are losers and leeches. She repeatedly calls them middle-aged toddlers in her posts. But she also doesn't work. So does that make her an elderly baby? I know, right? It's okay for her to need stepdad for money and insurance, but not his kids? What? Wait, so this woman moves out of her own home and couch surfs because her stepchildren live there temporarily due to a situation outside of their control. She made herself homeless? Wow, what a hypocrite. Also, ma'am, you put your thoughts on an online platform for people to see and comment. You didn't tell her husband about a personal conversation. You pointed him to what she's telling the world. Not a hole. Not a hole. Mother-in-law sounds like an absolute pill. Poor stepdad was just trying to be a good father. I agree with you. Stepdad deserves to know what's being said behind his back, especially by someone he thought cared about him. Can't imagine being in a relationship where my partner would do that to me. Your wife needs to learn to understand that mother-in-law's actions and words have consequences. You are simply a messenger, and she's trying to shoot you for things mother-in-law said. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to attend my brother's wedding after my sister-in-law left my 2-month-old on a park bench? Me and my sister-in-law have always been close. Her and my brother met when they were 15, I was 12, and now I'm 21. She was always really nice to me, and we bonded over the fact that my parents don't like either of us. A few weeks ago, I got called into work and my sister-in-law said that I shouldn't waste money on a babysitter when I could just let them take her for a bit. My husband was also at work. I guess at some point she decided to take her and her dog for a walk. She says they were walking through the park and the leash slipped out of her hand. Without thinking, she put my daughter on a nearby bench. She was in a little carrier, and she ran after the dog. She didn't even catch the dog, and it wasn't until 2 hours later that she even realized that daughter was missing. When I came to pick up my daughter, she broke down and told me everything. I was livid, but I was so thankful no one kidnapped her. My husband was so mad he stormed down to their house just to yell at her. She recently messaged me details about her wedding. I told her I would not be attending. She called me sobbing, saying that I'm a petty witch, and she wishes someone had kidnapped my daughter. I hung up on her and she apologized and said she needs me there. My friends and family have called me saying I'm petty, and that she was stressed, and it was an accident. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. This is nuts. She wishes someone had kidnapped your daughter? Never talk to this woman again. This. What she did was bad enough, but to follow up with this is crazy. OP, you are not the a-hole. You are not being petty. What you are doing is being a mother and ensuring the safety and well-being of your child. This woman is clearly not in her right mind if she forgot about your child for 2 hours, let alone her disgusting comment. 1. Left daughter on park bench. 2. Forgot daughter on park bench. 3. Says she wishes someone had kidnapped your daughter. Not only are you not the a-hole, but she's such a flaming psychotic a-hole that if I were you, I wouldn't just skip the wedding. I would actively try to stop my brother from marrying her. Info. She left her 2-month-old baby on a public park bench for 2 hours because she forgot her? Yes, I need you to clarify this. 2 hours? Yes, you read it correctly. 2 hours. I'm so livid. Like, how do you forget an entire infant? Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to buy my kids cheaper clothes because my sister-in-law asked me to? With a little update. My husband and I have 2 daughters, 14 and 16. We both have high-paying jobs. I am a plastic surgeon and he is a neurosurgeon, and we met in med school. So we are very stable financially and are able to have some vacations and buy stuff we like. My husband's brother and his wife, on the other hand, are not very well financially. They don't have debts, and they have a nice home though. Sister-in-law and I don't have a very good relationship, but we are cordial enough with each other. My daughters are very into fashion, and I think they're very good at dressing up and making outfits. Since they both have very good grades and are well behaved, dear husband and I like to take them shopping when we have the chance. Yesterday, we hosted dinner in our house to celebrate father-in-law's birthday, and many family members came, including sister-in-law. My daughters were dressed formally since that's what everyone agreed to. When sister-in-law and her kids arrived, she stared at my daughters with a frown. Later in the evening, before dinner was served, she pulled me aside and asked me why did I allow my girls to wear those clothes. I asked her what she meant, and she said that teenagers shouldn't wear expensive clothing if they didn't buy them with their own money. I told her that it was okay, since although they don't have jobs, they work for it by getting good grades. She told me that it was not fair, and that her kids always ask her to buy them stuff from the same brands. I asked her what I could do then, since honestly I don't think it's my problem. And she said that I needed to stop buying them those clothes and everything would be fine. I tried to politely tell her that I wouldn't, but she called my mother-in-law and asked her for her opinion. Mother-in-law said that they had no business deciding what my daughters can wear, and offered to buy some clothes from that brand for her kids. She started calling me a selfish brat, and that I didn't know what hard work is. So I told her that my husband and I work our butts off every day to be able to afford this stuff, and that she was being entitled. She just cussed me out and went to the table to continue eating. This morning, I received a message from her husband saying that I behaved like a witch, and demanded me to apologize to his wife as well as complying with her wishes. I just said no and hung up. Now, they are threatening to go no contact with us unless I apologize, but my ego's too big to do so. So I decided to get an opinion from unbiased sources. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Like you said, you work hard for your money, and you can spend it like you wish. She can't honestly expect everyone in life to act like they're at her income level because she's insecure about it. Her kids will inevitably see kids with nicer things at school. That's just part of life. Her reaction was totally uncalled for. Do not apologize to her. Honestly, going no contact sounds like a good idea. Thanks for your opinion. We haven't decided what we will do, but for now, we will wait to see if they calm down. The only way you could possibly be the a-hole is if your girls are bragging about what they have, or being judgmental towards their cousins for having less than them. As long as this isn't the case, which it doesn't seem to be, you're in the clear and it isn't your job to manage your sister-in-law's feelings. Not an a-hole, like your mother-in-law said. They have zero business deciding what your teenage daughters can and can't wear. Going no contact with them might be better since they sound a bit deranged. Out of curiosity, what did your husband say about their behavior? Thank you. I did tell him about the situation after everyone left, and he just told me to ignore her. But after I received the messages, he got mad at her because he also likes to buy this kind of gifts for our daughters, and he thinks his brother is being entitled. Wait, you don't know hard work? Med school, residency, fellowship, to practicing MD. That is the definition of hard work. And now you are and your family are enjoying the fruits of your and your husband's hard work. Not an a-hole. She is jealous. She can go sit and spin with that crap. I'm a prick, so I would do a photo shoot and put it all over social media with my kids in the forbidden clothes. Update. My husband and I talked with the girls, and they both said they didn't know how their cousins felt, and they offered to wear non-brand clothes in family gatherings so their cousins didn't feel uncomfortable. Dear husband and I thanked them, and told them that it wasn't their fault. Dear husband then contacted his brother, and apparently sister-in-law told him that our girls bullied her children, but we compared versions and realized it was a lie. Brother-in-law apologized twice and made sister-in-law apologize. She was hesitant at first, but did. I told her what my girls were going to do and she said that it was good, but she was hoping for more. To be honest, I feel like the problem is solved for now. Thanks for everyone's advice in the comments. Update 2. My stepdad turned my family against me. If you haven't watched the first part of this story yet, click the card above or the link in the description. Now for the second update. Alright, sorry for the delay everyone. Work has been busy, and I just got home this past weekend. I sat on that message from what it turns out was in fact my stepfather. My curiosity got the better of me, and I called him. I did do what some had suggested, and recorded a call using a different app. I wish I could say the call provided me something, but that would be disingenuous. Hearing his voice made my skin crawl. He asked how I was, and I told him to cut the nonsense, and he laughed. Nothing incriminating on his end, of course. Talk was about 3 minutes long, about nothing. I did ask him why he wasn't content with me being with her, and he said I wasn't man enough, and that a woman like her would have been wasted on me. He has a very traditional way of thinking relationship-wise, which is especially funny because it shows how much he never knew about our relationship, or her in general. Without going off on a tangent, my ex was/is pretty notably against gender norms. She has a very well-paying job and told me she'd never be comfortable being a stay-at-home mom/wife. She even often took the initiative for stuff in our relationship, etc. There wasn't really much to take away from the conversation other than that. I don't really know what he wanted, but I told him not to call me again and hung up. Not very eventful on that front. I flew back home prior to the weekend last week and went to my uncle's birthday party. Had a good time and the family was very welcoming and apologetic for not being more supportive after everything. None of them were ever rude or anything. I've got no negative feelings towards any of them. I then talked with my brother and set up a meeting at his place with my ex and mother on Wednesday night. On Wednesday, I went over there and got what I expected. Lots of tears, lots of apologies. I admittedly had a tough time keeping it together. I talked with both of them and my brother all independently. Mom has already filed for divorce, which is good, and I appreciate her doing so. We had a decent conversation. You can tell it's strained, but I think we're making some progress towards healing. My brother and I had a good talk. He apologized for everything that had happened and I accepted it. Can definitely tell he feels remorse for how it all shook out. And for the work he put in to make it right, I definitely don't hold a grudge. My ex and I had a very long discussion through most of the night. We'd been talking over the phone for the last couple weeks already. A lot of it was just catching up. We're obviously two very different people now after nearly a year and a half apart. We had some more serious discussions later on about everything. About how screwed up it all was and how broken I was by it all. She told me she'd already seen a therapist and asked if I would be willing to come with her to her appointment Thursday. She's gone above and beyond for everything I could have asked of her the last few weeks, and I'm really truly appreciative of it. I went with her to her therapy appointment, which I feel was very productive for everyone. Her therapist seemed to be very appreciative of me being there as well. So we stayed talking for a while after, and I decided to ask if she wanted to go out Saturday night. So that's the plan right now. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I wanted to show her that I appreciate the effort she's putting in to try and mend what's been broken. And selfishly, I'd like to see her in a setting that isn't like the ones we've been in. That's the update for now. Things are looking up. Haven't seen any of my stepdad or his family since getting home. Appreciate all the support from everyone. We'll update with anything new. Now for the comments. I really want to believe that she changed. It isn't that gullible anymore and won't fall again for such BS if anyone would ever try again. Because it seems that you really want to get back in a relationship with her. If you think that getting back together is the best thing to do, then it's your choice. Up to you. Hopefully things will be okay from now on. I'd like to, yes. That said, I'm still wary of it all. And I imagine will be for quite a long time naturally. I read your story recently, and I was so angry about your despicable soon-to-be ex-stepfather. I know it's probably going to take some time to mend what can be mended, and some things will probably hurt for some time, but I'm glad for you and how things are getting better. And am I correct in the understanding that your brother is who used to be your stepbrother? Because that's a point in your story that surprised me. As soon as you saw what length he went to reach out to you, you dropped the step. In any case, hope things go better for you as time goes. He is. It was actually accidental at first, but I certainly think he's earned that now. So wait, is brother still dating ex, or did he step back once everything came out? They aren't dating. Went on 2 dates at the suggestion of stepdad, but both felt gross about it. I'm honestly a bit concerned that because you don't have a strong support system, you let your mother and ex too fast back into your life. I would never trust them to have my back like a family should, ever again. Mama's already filed for divorce, which is good, and I appreciate her doing so. Why are you appreciative? This is a bare minimum, and mostly self-serving to get rid of a liar. If she didn't do this, she would be a monster. But if she does it, she stays a terrible mother and person. The same goes for you being appreciative of your ex trying to mend things. Not saying they can't change, but I would stay low contact for years to come and see if they seriously want to change. I'm appreciative because they've done all I've asked of them in the past few weeks. I'm communicating and trying to mend some things, but I'm still living across the country. It's more just a timing thing than anything else that I'm home this quick. At the end of the day, I'm not going to be with them because I'll be living so far away. They're gonna have to make that effort, and assuming they do so, I'll give them the time to try to fix things. Next story. Update. A woman I'm dating posted my picture to an online cheaters page. I, 36 male, met Danielle, 33 female, on a dating app and we immediately hit it off. Conversation was super easy for us, so we swapped numbers and spent the next 2 weeks texting and talking on the phone. I explained early on that I want to take my time, because not only am I looking for something serious, but also have work commitments the next few months. I work in tech product sales, which can be very busy. It also involved me leaving the city for a few days at a time. She said she understood and was also looking for something long-term. Great. We met the weekend before Valentine's and had a nice restaurant date followed by dessert and coffee. We finished with a kiss, and I walked her back to her car. It was definitely the best date I've been on since my last relationship. The next day, I called her to say I was looking forward to seeing her again and would plan something when I get back. Now, I live in a major North American city, and from the 15th to 17th, I was booked 3 hours away for an on-site client meetings. I told her about this and let her know that we'd keep in touch. On a Friday I'm due to get back, I get a message from a close female friend asking who I angered. I have no clue what she's talking about, so she sends me a screenshot of my photo on what looks like a Facebook page and tells me it's a private group where women call out men for cheating. It's called Are We Dating the Same Guy? And this particular group is just for people from my city. In the screenshot, multiple people are posting under my picture with mostly harmless comments like, "Oh, I went on a date with him years ago. He was okay. But there were others like PM me for the tea. And one woman said, he's an angry a-hole. Stay away for your safety. Because it's Facebook, I instantly recognized her name as someone I went on a date with the last summer who I had to block after she repeatedly tried to sell me her cat. Absolute lunatic. A few things about me. I am single. I have never been married and my last relationship was over a year ago. I'm very selective, and Danielle was the first date I'd been on since the end of summer. I'm also a very private person. I don't use social media and I don't kiss and tell. So the fact that my photo is on the site is mortifying. What makes matters worse is when I got home, I started getting texts from a bunch of other people I know, either laughing at me or calling me a womanizer. As of now, I'm aware that several female friends have seen it. One coworker, my sister, and a woman I know who lives in the same building as me that excitedly grabbed me when I was leaving this morning to tell me, I saw you in that Facebook group. Apparently, it's a lot more popular than I realized. There's only one person who would have the motivation to do this, so I called Danielle on the weekend and asked her. Initially, she denied it, but after some prodding, that flipped to apparently her friend posting it. Why? Because a few of them had gotten tipsy together on Valentine's as they are all single. My name came up after her friends asked why she wasn't with me that night after the great date she'd told them about. Apparently, me not being around as I was leaving early the next morning for work was suspicious, as was the fact we'd been talking for multiple weeks but she'd never seen my place. She gave them a picture I used on the dating app, and one of them posted it. She told me she was sorry, but that seemed too good to be true. Her last relationship ended due to cheating, and she wanted to make sure I wasn't married or in a relationship. I told her I needed some time to think, and would be in touch. That was Saturday. We've been silent until today when I woke up to dozens of messages from her saying things along the lines of, I'm so sorry, / I'm so angry with myself for this. And then the real truth. It was her that posted it. She wanted to come completely clean and apologized for lying, telling me she panicked when I confronted her, but she wants it all out now. She sent me screenshots unprovoked of the PM conversations she was having with women in the group about me. Aside from the one head case I mentioned earlier, there was nothing accusatory. But what I couldn't get over was how they were discussing me in such an open manner. It had nothing to do with whether I was single or cheating. It was stuff like, he took me to this restaurant, he drives this kind of car, this is what his place is like, this is how much money I think he makes. I would never talk about exes or people I've dated like that. And if a guy tried to talk to me about Danielle like that, I'd think he was a freaking weirdo and tell him to stop. My two closest female friends are divided on this, so I'm here for advice. One thinks that women need to protect themselves against predators and violence, and groups like this are necessary. The other is angry on my behalf, because the presumption of men being posted to that group are that they're cheaters or sketchy. Otherwise, why would anyone even post them there? I really don't know what to do next. I've never had to deal with anything remotely like this before. I like Danielle, but it was one date. She also lied to me about it at first. This seems like a headache, and we've never even hooked up yet. Is she going to get even more paranoid after that? It doesn't feel like we're compatible. This feels like the past 3 weeks of us talking have been one massive waste, and that actually stings, because she's the first person I've really liked since my ex. Now for the top advice before reading the update. I'm really surprised you're considering moving forward with her after this. She lied to you. She invited judgment of you. She is very vulnerable to the opinions of others, and she is insecure. Insecurity definitely does not bode well with a job that will take you away from home often. This is a lot for one date, and quite frankly, below the maturity level I'd expect of a 33-year-old woman. I think you should let her go. Chalk this up to a story you'll laugh about someday on future dates and get back out there. This woman is insane. Don't walk away. Run. You can try asking her to take it down before you reject her, but don't keep your hopes up. Also, remember that she will likely share your text messages with the public, so be very careful in what you say. One date, and you're already deep in drama? Man, even the crazy ones can normally hide their crazy for at least a few months. But nope, this crazy was already strong on day one. To top it off, she lies when she's confronted with something unpleasant and is projecting BS from past relationships onto you on day one. What advice would you give someone else who told you the same story? Because to me, this sounds like a bunch of red flags all up front. This is what I came to say. That and run. Now for the update. Back with an update, but firstly, a couple of quick notes based on the feedback I got. I don't care if you think my close female friend violated the sanctity of your super cool secret girls only club. As she told me, her loyalties are to me. She's known me since I was a child, and knows that I didn't deserve to have my photo plastered there. I understand that those groups may be necessary in keeping women safe or finding predators, but their moderator should go harder in ensuring that it meets those goals, rather than running a de facto gossip club where innocent people's personal lives are affected. I've had dozens of people reach out with very similar experiences, so perhaps your rules should reflect that rather than just keep boys out. As for the lunatic who wanted to sell me her cat, Cat seemed like a cool dude, but I just wasn't in the market for a pet. He also only had 3 legs, which made him run like a drunken sailor. All cats deserve love, so I hope he got away from her. Some of you alarmingly struggle with concepts of consent. I consented to my photo appearing on a dating app. I did not consent to my photo appearing in a "Is this guy trash" group. These are not the same, and the stigma and assumptions associated with both are vastly different. I really shouldn't have to explain this, but here we are. Regarding me not realizing how big this group was, 3 of the women in my life all found out about it the same way. On Valentine's Day, a radio show ran a segment on it, then it got picked up by blogs and social media. It's even appeared on local television. My friend saw it on Twitter. Another saw a "This guy was dating 12 women" post that got shared and decided to investigate. My sister was texted by her friend about it, and when they all rushed to check the group out, there I was. Great timing. It currently has over 50,000 members. Anyway, moving on. So I decided not to pursue things with Danielle. She took the post down during our radio silence, but it mainly boiled down to just not seeing her in the same light anymore. I can accept that she is genuinely sorry, but I also know how I am, and it wouldn't be fair to either of us. This is supposed to be the honeymoon period. Everything is supposed to be light and cute. Now it's just suspicion and resentment. Not gonna lie, that period between when we first started talking to when I went away on my trip was really great. I looked forward to talking to her. When I would see a text, I got butterflies. When we kissed, it felt electric. Some people said what she did was such an obvious red flag. They were questioning why I was even hesitating. The reason is that I haven't felt like this in some time. My last relationship lasted 5 years, and after we broke up, I legitimately wondered if I could find that spark again. Especially after trying dating apps here and there, and not having much luck finding the right person. I do want to feel that spark again and find my person, but holding on to something that already has these problems before it even starts is the wrong move. Instead, I'm simply happy I got to experience it. Now I know it's out there and possible again, just not with Danielle. But I'll be honest, I did wake up today thinking, hey, you never know. Maybe a couple months down the line I'll think different, and maybe we'll go grab a drink. And then I saw she texted me. To preface, before I left the city for work, she sent me a photo with a message, "Don't forget about me." It was her in a bikini on a summer beach blowing a kiss. She's quite chesty, so is not exactly safe for work, but there was no nudity. I opened today's text, which reads, "Hey, hope I'm not disturbing you, but I'd like to ask you to delete that picture I sent, and do not share it with anyone." WTF? I just replied, "The only copy of that picture is in our chat thread. Do you seriously have this low an opinion of me?" To which she apologized and said she was just making sure. Fine. At first I was annoyed, but then I realized the most important thing. It was a reminder I had made a right decision. So I made another and deleted her number. I can't believe he didn't tell her. I would never share a photo of you without your consent. What kind of monster would do that? I kind of think he did say it in a classier way. You seriously think that low of me? Implies what she did was low AF. As someone who's been cheated on, I understand Danielle's insecurity and trust issues. The fact that she took it out on OP after one date shows that not only is she nowhere close to ready to date, but she also is giving her ex way too much power. She needs therapy before going into another relationship. Am I the a-hole for banning half-brother from a wedding? My husband, 31 male and I, 29 female, got married civilly last year and will, COVID permitting, be having our religious ceremony and reception in October of this year. All parties will be vaccinated and the wedding will be socially distanced. Don't worry. Here is the issue. My father is coming from overseas to come to my wedding and walk me down the aisle. He is insisting on bringing his son, 9 male, with him for almost 2 months. I have asked him not to for many reasons. For some background, my parents are still legally married but separated, and he expects to bring his son, who is not my mother's child, to stay with my mom in the house that is still in his name. Second off, this child was conceived while my father was having an affair in our home country, and nobody knew about the kid until my dad surprised us one day with a picture of him. Basically, my mom was ambushed and was expected to deal with it because she's financially dependent on my father. Now, I have met the kids and I have no problem with my half-siblings at all. They're kids for Pete's sake. I mean, I know he is my half-brother, but it's weird because he isn't really a brother to me, if that makes sense. He lives in another country and I didn't grow up with him, but I truly harbor no ill feelings for the kids. Children are innocent and should never have to bear the sins of their parents. But my mom always told my father, do whatever you want, but don't bring your crap to my door. This, in my opinion, is him bringing the crap to the door, then smearing it on the door and smashing the rest in my mom's face. Why should my mom have to deal with her husband's love child who we barely know running around at her daughter's wedding? Yes, it is me and my husband's day, but she is my mom and the spine that holds my life together. In my opinion, it's her day too, just in a different sense. I stand with my mom because my dad's being a tool. Quite frankly, in the month leading up to the wedding, I will be bloody busy with last-minute stuff and have no time to entertain a kid. But I would be lying if I didn't say my number one reason is the blatant disrespect of my mother, who is an awesome mom, and quite possibly the best grandmother on the face of the earth. I have tried so hard to kindly explain to my father why his kid shouldn't come, and I have highlighted all the cons for my half-brother, like missing school. No kids to play with, different language and country, and my dad won't be able to properly care for him. Again, old immigrant male mentality. I love my father dearly, but he is thick-headed and wants to do whatever the hell he wants. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for giving my father the ultimatum of either come alone or don't come and mom will walk me down the aisle? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Honestly, why not have your mom walk you down the aisle to begin with? Your father isn't exactly the shining example of the sanctity of marriage. If father brings his affair child to stay in his wife's home, he should not have the honor of walking Opie down the aisle. Not the a-hole. I don't want you to bring the child born of your cheating on my mom to my wedding is a perfectly reasonable request. Not the a-hole. Wow. It's not just about having the kid at the wedding. For me, it's more about wanting to stay in the same house as your mom for 2 months. Even if he went alone, I'm sure your mom is not exactly looking forward to sharing a house with him for that long. Put your foot down. Your mom doesn't deserve that, and your dad is being totally entitled. Not the a-hole. This goes far beyond a Reddit thread. If you were going to ban the child, I would also ban the dad. Sounds like he made his own bed when he decided to be unfaithful. Why would you even want that kind of energy or juju in your wedding? Not to mention being walked down the aisle by a man who is as unfaithful as that. His family, but really? Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to go to my brother's wedding if my son can't go? Some backstory. My brother's 30 male, soon-to-be wife Tara, 26 female, went to the same high school as me. She was 1 grade below me, but we all knew each other. I, 27 male, have a 5-year-old son with an ex-girlfriend who also went to school with us. My ex and my brother's girlfriend hated each other. They were on the same drill team and, I don't know, were jealous of each other. It was some old BS petty high school rivalry. Then I guess it got bad because they were both crushing on the same guy, and he got with my ex after he rejected Tara. I got with my ex in college. It was a brief thing. We broke up right after my son Jason was born. He's with me full-time and my ex is in the picture sometimes, but not that much. I found out over a year ago my brother was in a relationship with Tara. And now they're engaged and going to get married in November. Haven't been around Tara much because I'm busy with my own life. When invitations went out, my brother called me. He said Tara didn't like Jason being there at their wedding. They've never met before because he's the son of my ex. She just doesn't like the idea of her sworn enemy's son being at her wedding. I didn't think he was serious because that was all years ago and we are, adults now. My ex isn't even in our lives, so it's not like she'll be there. I kind of got mad at my brother that he'd be cool with his own nephew not being at his wedding when all of my other siblings are bringing their kids. My brother pleaded me to go along with this because he wants her to be happy on their special day. So I said, you know what, fine. But if my son isn't allowed at the wedding, then I won't be going either. Now my brother is the one mad at me for turning this into a big deal because he wants his family there. But he's just caught between a rock and a hard place. My parents agree she's being ridiculous and are berating my brother. My other siblings think I should have just agreed and not turned this whole thing into a bigger drama. So I'm on the fence about how I handled things here. If it was a no-kids wedding, then I'd get that. And yeah, it is their special day. But my son is the only one not allowed to be there. And I don't feel right with excluding him over something childish that was 10 years ago. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. If it was a no-kids event, then I would say no biggie. But since kids are allowed, the bride is being the a-hole. It's not your son's fault that the bride has something against his mother. Good on you for standing up for your son. I know this might be a slippery slope fallacy, but if you allow it for the wedding, what else is she going to exclude your son from? Just doesn't make much sense on her end. I don't get what the big deal is either. Or why should be hung up on something that happened when we were teenagers? Especially when my son had absolutely nothing to do with it. She wants to take her anger out on your kid because it's the closest she'll get even on your ex. It's gross. Not to mention she's getting even over losing another guy who isn't her current groom to her enemy. And groom is okay with this? Not today, Hall. Ask him what the long-term plan is. Is he planning on cutting his nephew out of his life forever due to his fiancé/wife's childhood feud with the child's practically non-existent mother? Does this mean she will make him or expect you to miss family events/Christmas/birthdays, etc. if your child is there? Where are the boundaries that she expects to be around your son? Because believe me, not attending the wedding is just the first step. Your brother needs to think long and hard about this situation and what it will really mean for his future relationships with his family. This, not today, Hall. She is hating a child for something he has no involvement in or control over. Now my brother is the one mad at me for turning this into a big deal because he wants his family there. Reread that. He wants his family there, but he doesn't want your son there because Tara will be upset. So your son is not part of the family. Also, if you let this slide this one time, what about next time? What about all the family gatherings and holidays? What if their defenses, this is her big day, so it's only going to happen once? Can anyone absolutely guarantee that? What if Tara starts threatening your brother and say she won't go because Jason's there? What if they have kids and Tara is holding the kids back because Jason's there? Can anyone be sure that will not and will never happen? If Tara is treating a 5-year-old child like that, she's not going to get better. Stand up for your child. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for outing my aunt about her secret first marriage that she was hiding from her kids and husband? Backstory. I, 28 male, was looking through some old photos at my mother's house a couple years ago and discovered a wedding picture of my aunt, 50s female, and a strange man I'd never met before, who is not the uncle I know. My mother told me about my aunt's first marriage, that she's kept hidden from the kids because she's very religious. The husband's name was Adam. Fake name, relevant for later. My cousin, 34 female, is the daughter of my aunt with a current husband. She's pregnant again, and they're picking a girl and a boy's name because they want to be surprised. My cousin wants to name the baby Adam if it's a boy. My aunt has been saying very negative things about the name, how much she hates it, and how my cousin is ruining everything by naming her first possible grandson that name. She has kept going on and on. My cousin and her husband really loved a name, and it would be a tribute to her husband's dad who passed on a couple years ago. My cousin and I had a playdate with our children at my mother's house, and she was talking about this whole situation. She confided in me about how upset she is with everything since she's so close to her mom, how she's fallen in love with the name, and how bewildered she is and why her mom hates the name. This is where I might be the a-hole. When she told me the name, it clicked right away, and I told her it was because that was her mom's first husband's name. My cousin said her dad was her mom's only husband, and she knows this because her mom said she was a virgin when she married. I was going to leave it at that, but my cousin looked at me funny and asked why I would lie. How if someone lies about little things, then you can't really trust them. I told her I wasn't lying, and she doubled down saying I was. So I told her to wait, and I dug through my mother's photos and found a wedding picture. I showed it to my cousin and told her she should apologize because I wasn't lying. This was her first husband, and his name was Adam. She went into a tailspin of how much her mother has lied, and I told her the only liar here was her mom, not me. My cousin was not happy about that. My cousin confronted her mother, and now my aunt is furious with me and my mother for keeping the evidence. But my uncle and my cousin is furious at my aunt. Am I the a-hole? I was just defending my honor, and my aunt didn't make me promise to keep her secret. Now for the top comments. So your aunt lied and upset a bunch of people who are not you, and she and all of those people are blaming you? These people are the reason you only have family reunions every 20 years. Not the a-hole. My cousin confronted her mother, and now my aunt is furious with me and my mother for keeping the evidence. My uncle and my cousin are furious at my aunt. No one is angry at Opie except the aunt. Unless there was a line I failed to read. Everyone sucks here. You knew what you were doing. And the gleeful delivery of your mom's "a liar, not me" reflects poorly on you. But open secrets like this in families are straight garbage. I grew up in a family with them and got myself into trouble a few times by not knowing who the secrets were kept from. So I'm straight up with people. I can't keep up with secrets, so if you want to keep something secret, keep me out of it. Yeah, but Opie was kept out of it. It's not like the aunt confided in Opie and then pressured him to keep it a secret. Opie stumbled across information that had nothing to do with him. Nobody knew he knows, and he could have very easily avoided being mixed up in this. But Opie just couldn't keep the juicy gossip to himself. 'Cause honestly, that's really what it was, wasn't it? Telling cousin didn't solve anything or help anyone, just created a bunch of drama for aunt, uncle, and pregnant cousin who really has enough on her plate. Oof, this was a wild ride, man. Everyone sucks here. You're undoubtedly an a-hole, not because you let it slip that your aunt is a liar, but because of this. I told her the only liar here was her mom, not me. You took it way too personal. You should have let it go at that. Your cousin probably would have come around. If not, that's her loss. You created family drama unnecessarily. It's none of your business if your aunt is a master liar. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit my ex's kids? Some background. Ex cheated on me when our sons were 6 and 4, now 12 and 10. Left me for the other woman who got pregnant, and that baby ended up being stillborn. Things were already tense between us, but then they wanted to keep the boys for an indefinite period of time so she could grieve with them around. I said no. She told me she needed her boys around. Now, take into account that she was in their lives 5-ish months at that point and was already claiming them as hers. They never got over my refusal, and the fact that when my ex had to leave for a month working after, that I wouldn't let her see the boys in that time, or the fact I didn't show concern for the two of them. Apparently, I was supposed to be unaffected by what my ex and this other woman did. Things have not changed since. We don't communicate all that much, which is how I like it. The boys have a rocky relationship with them because they tried to force them to call her mom. Anyway, they now have 2 other kids, and her mom died. She grew up in another country, and her family's there. They want to travel for the funeral and ask me to keep their kids because it would apparently be more complicated quarantining and stuff with children. I said no. I do not want to look after their children. I am not helping them out. They are pissed with me, saying ex's family all said no too, and they have nobody who will watch the kids, and she doesn't deserve to go through this alone. I told them I have no responsibility to help them, and no desire to have their kids in my home for 2+ weeks, depending on how long it takes them to go for the funeral and make it back. Ax's wife called me an a-hole, and told me I am devoid of empathy. I told her not to expect favors from the woman whose husband she had an affair with. A friend of mine suggested I should do it for the bonding time between kids. That she knows if the boys don't really like dads, they probably haven't done much bonding with their half-siblings. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Holy hell, the audacity to ask you. Absolutely not the a-hole. If my ex asked me this, I'd be laughing so hard I'd wet myself. Not to mention she at one point wanted Opie's kids to be there like emotional support animals. I understand her grief over her lost child, but she literally was what broke up their parents' relationship and has no right to ask that of them. Not the a-hole, Opie. The entitlement of your ex and his wife is beyond belief. Given the history and past interactions, they are delusional to think you owe them to help them out in anything, let alone this huge imposition. The relationship between your kids and their half-siblings is your ex's responsibility, not yours in any way. You have said all the right things. Please ignore them if they try to pressure you again. Not the a-hole. I wonder if the half-siblings even have a good relationship with Opie's kids, considering what the ex and the other woman did. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. She said that you are an a-hole and that you are devoid of empathy? If she wants to see that person, she should go to the bathroom and look in the mirror. Their kids, their problem. Neither of them have anyone that will help them. You know why? Because nobody wants to help a bunch of a-holes. They're lucky that they found each other. I would understand a weekend, but 2 weeks? Just stay calm and keep your voice down when you talk to them. It's super easy to scream when you're dealing with entitled lunatics. You seem to set your boundaries clearly, and they are not unreasonable. Am I the a-hole for firmly telling my husband I want to cook for his friend again? For context, my husband's male 33 best friend, male 37, Dale, lost his wife to cancer this past March. Ever since, I've been asked by my husband to consider sending hot homemade meals to his suffering friend, and I've started including Dale in the meals I cook. It started off as 1 meal a week, then gradually became 3 to 5 meals a week. Then my husband started coming with requests from his friend Dale wanting me to cook certain meals that he preferred. I wasn't so fine with it, as I already had not a lot of time to spend in the kitchen. I'm a nurse, and work has become very exhausting. As well as money we spend to buy ingredients we need to cook meals for Dale. Dale would send me texts or emails thanking me for the meals I sent him, but at the same time kept sending suggestions and new ways to improve my cooking. Like how his wife made X meal crispier or how X meal should have more sauce. I gotta say, I started feeling irritated, especially since Dale kept texting all the time. And even when I don't respond, he texts my husband who asks me to please be more patient since this is a phase and will pass. A few days ago, I was in the middle of my shift at 11 a.m. when Dale sent me a text, but I was too busy in my unit I didn't even look at it. I work in a big hospital, so the pressure is big. I got off work at 9 p.m. to find my husband at home looking upset. I asked him, and he told me his friend Dale texted me early in the morning to tell me he was having guests over and wanted me to cook him a meal so he could serve it to them. But I didn't respond and kept him hanging, forcing him to order food at the last minute. I was taken aback. I didn't know why he'd come to me expecting that I cook for his guests, knowing that I had work. My husband said his friend was just asking, but I ignored him and made him feel like a burden. I told him A, I was busy working, and B, I'm not obligated to cook for Dale, much less his guests that I never met. My husband said that Dale would have said okay if I said no, but he thinks that I work too much if I can't take a minute to look at a text he sent. Dale said that. It's funny because my job's paying for the food Dale's been eating since March. My husband said I put Dale in an awkward position and should apologize and clear the air, but I told him that I'm no longer cooking for his friend. Not even weekly meals, period. Since this is the type of treatment I get and being treated like a maid or a personal cook, then I'm not cooking for Dale again. Ever. I said this, then I went upstairs. My husband said I overreacted and was being insensitive toward his widower friend and should have had more grace because his friend is struggling himself in this hard time. My husband said he didn't know I had this cruel side of me and asked me to put myself in Dale's shoes to understand that he's struggling. Additional info. A. Dale doesn't work, and my husband says it's rude to ask Dale to pay for food we send him when I complain about the stuff I'm having to pay for to cook. B. My husband says Dale already has other friends helping out, but not with cooking as they are single and none of them know how to cook just like my husband. C. Dale thinks I work too much. How does that even concern him? I have no idea. Dale and I never really get along. But I keep it civil since he's my husband's best friend and is struggling to adapt as a widower, so I try to be graceful and understanding. My husband goes over to his house daily to help with whatever he can, so it's not just me helping, but because my husband doesn't cook. He thinks Dale deserves to have a hot meal or 2 weeklies. Cooking is not a problem for me if it doesn't interrupt work. I cooked for my brother many times when our mother passed away. But it's how Dale kept texting all the time. My husband works from home and takes care of household chores except cooking. Now for the top comments. Not a-hole. Texting you at work to cook for his friend's friends? That's nuts. If someone needs to cook for his friend, your husband can always do the cooking, especially if you are working. You don't have any magic skills in the kitchen that he can't develop if he thinks it is important that someone from your family cook for his friend. I'd also draw a line at having his friend over for more than 1 meal a week. Any more than that, and your husband needs to prepare the meal, because it is, as you say, a lot of work. It is also really intrusive to have a guest over that many times a week. What about your privacy? If your husband thinks this cooking is no big deal, he can do it. If it is too big of a deal for him, it is too big of a deal for you. On the day of 2, Opie didn't put Dale in an awkward position. He put himself in an awkward position. Absolutely ludicrous on the part of both Dale and the husband. OMG, yeah. I'm a planner, and this day of expectation would drive me absolutely nuts. Like, dude, at least have the grace to ask 24 plus hours in advance. Not Dale, Opie. Dale doesn't work and deserves a hot meal once or twice a week? Okay, so he can order hot takeout. Or get a job. Or spend his plentiful downtime teaching himself how to cook, which would be beneficial and a good distraction strategy for coping with grief. Why doesn't he work in the first place? Why hasn't your husband learned to cook if he feels so strongly about this? Not a day-hole, but your problem is not Dale, but your husband. Theoretically, it's nice that he wants to be there for his friend in a hard time, but it seems he's very inconsiderate towards you and your time. If Opie's husband wanted to support Dale after his loss, then maybe Opie's husband should have done the freaking cooking instead of voicing it on Opie. Apparently, both Opie's husband and Dale's other friends don't know how to cook, because we all know that recipes are all written in some language indecipherable to men. For Pete's sake, as a grown adult, cooking is a basic life skill. If you don't know how to, learn. Don't just force your wife to cook for you and all your friends in the few hours she has off work. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for inviting my 29 male girlfriend 28 female on an expensive vacation and expecting her to pay all of her share? I make a lot more than her. Hello. My girlfriend, myself, my parents, and my brother and his wife all went on vacation in another country a week ago. My brother and I were the ones who did most of the planning of the itinerary, although we did ask everyone else for input. For background, I make around $150,000 as an IT consultant. My girlfriend is a teacher making $45,000. My parents are pretty affluent, as well as my brother and sister-in-law. My girlfriend knew this trip was coming up and took on a second job waitressing on the weekends for several months to get ready for it. We have always split things 50-50 in the 2 years we have been together. There were a few times on vacation when she did not go on outings with us, wine tasting / scuba diving / etc. She also would only eat 2 meals a day, simply stating that she was on a budget. My family does favor more high-end, expensive places. My parents thought it was very strange that she only eats 2 meals a day, although normally she eats 3. When we got home, I asked her why she skipped out on several of the outings and only ate 2 meals a day. I mentioned how I heard her stomach growling one night and said I was concerned about her having an eating disorder. She got teary-eyed and said that 3 meals a day wasn't physically feasible for her, and neither were the outings that she chose not to go on. She went on 3 out of 6 outings. She said she was not expecting everything to cost so much, and she was overwhelmed. She also said she doesn't know if this is going to work long term if she is expected to go on vacations like that with people who make so much more than her. I feel bad that I did not pick up on her discomfort sooner. But we did agree to split everything 50-50, and I don't know why she agreed to come if the cost was an issue. You're the a-hole. Dude, come on. Your girlfriend had to take a second job to keep up with your family. You heard her stomach growl. You didn't think she may not have the cash? God, you're not the brightest, are you? You make over 100,000 more than her. Don't even treat her to a holiday? Yeah, it's not going to work. You're blind to your girlfriend struggling. Help her. Opie makes me pretty angry. He gets to save and have enough money to spend on whatever, whenever he wants, while his girlfriend is struggling just to be able to afford her share of things. Yes, going 50-50 might have worked out in the beginning of their relationship, but when the income disparity is that big, you need to adjust the agreement. Why should she be the one to live up to his desires when he so clearly doesn't care about hers? You're the a-hole, Opie. Just reading your post again, I don't think you actually care about your girlfriend at all. You're the a-hole 100%. She wants because she loves your stupid butt. She worked a second job and went hungry to be with you and your family. Maybe you and your family should have some empathy and consider that not everyone is making 6 figures. Teachers are drastically underpaid for their education and often have to take a second job. Public servants who teach children are devalued, and in this case, her own boyfriend and his family couldn't care less that she was making huge sacrifices to attend. Your job is to be a good partner. You failed. Sorry, you're the a-hole. I feel for her. You'd been together 2 years. It sounds like to her this was an opportunity to get to know your family. She sacrificed a lot just to afford to come. You then watch her go hungry on a trip with your family? I mean, you don't need to pay for all her costs. But could you not have helped a bit to make sure she at least eats regularly, given that she worked 2 jobs earning a lot less than you for this? Next story is titled, Would I be the a-hole if I refused to help pay for my brother's wedding? Here's some backstory. My 20-male brother, 35, has a long history of nearly getting married then pulling out the last minute. It's the same story each time. He'll introduce a girl to the family when they start getting serious, and tell us that they'll be getting married in a few months. My parents will go to meet her parents, and the wedding preparations usually commence at this point. When the wedding is like a month or 2 away, he'll pull out of the whole thing over a fight or something. This has happened at least 8 times over the years. The reason he keeps pulling out is apparently over him not having enough money saved for the whole thing. Now this is confusing because he's been in full-time work since he was 18, has his own place, and pretty nice Mercedes car. The issue at hand is that he's brought another girl to the family. It is apparently serious this time. The wedding is a month away, and things are getting hectic. My mom is going around hounding all my siblings to chip in and pay off the wedding costs, seeing as my brother has no savings and is relying on us to bail him out. I was added to a family group chat dedicated to helping him pay off the money. Each one of my siblings was told to pay £1,000 by next month. I have been receiving non-stop phone calls from family asking when I will pay my share of the money, and this has taken a toll on my mental health. I currently work full-time and earn around £400 weekly, and I pay around £550 a month to my parents for rent and groceries. This is the second job I've ever had, and I've just recently started to learn how to save money and spend wisely. Paying £1,000 would put a serious dent in my basically non-existent savings. My family's also very toxic and mentally abusive, and there has been many times I have really needed help. Not money, just someone to talk to or ask for advice, and only my big sister was there for me. My mom has even gone the extremes of telling my siblings they were forbidden from sending me any money when I was broke and stuck in a different country. I might be the a-hole because I'm from a culture where family helps each other no matter what, and everyone expects me to pay the money. He's also my brother at the end of the day. So would I be the a-hole if I refuse to help out my brother? Edit. I just want to clarify my brother isn't the one asking people to pay for him. He actually hasn't talked to me about the wedding at all, and we're on pretty good terms right now. My mom is the one doing most of the fundraising and stuff. Now for the comments. There has been many times I have really needed help. Not money, just someone to talk to or ask for advice. And only my big sister was there for me. My mom has even gone the extremes of telling my siblings they were forbidden from sending me any money when I was broke and stuck in a different country. And this. Am I to be the a-hole because I'm from a culture where family helps each other no matter what? Does not go together. Not the a-hole. It's like the rules don't apply to me, but I'm expected to follow them. There are a lot of things about your family's behavior that makes me think it's probably not in your best interest to be relying on them or being in situations where they can pressure you into doing what they want. Your brother is an idiot, but I feel bad for him. If your parents are pressuring him into meeting someone and starting a family the same way they're pressuring you to pay for his wedding, it's no wonder he keeps canceling the wedding last minute. It's not about money, it's about him not wanting to get married. That's so true. Living in their household gives them the opportunity to try to manipulate me into things. I'm trying to move out very soon though. Not day hall. Your brother is 35 years old, in the middle of his working life, and you've just started. He doesn't need help to pay for his wedding. The fact that he's previously pulled out of weddings at the last minute is just an additional reason not to trust that he won't pull out this time. If it's different girls, the wedding costs are not the reason he's previously cancelled, but they may be the reason he now can't afford a wedding. When you plan a big wedding then cancel, you don't get all the money back. That's the thing. I really can't afford to give out money right now, and my job isn't really a steady one, so I have to save for a rainy day. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for getting upset that my girlfriend's sister keeps inviting herself into our home? Hi guys. I've been struggling with this issue recently, and looking to see if I'm being an a-hole about it. I have been in a relationship with my amazing girlfriend for over 5 years. We have only recently moved into our first home together, and have both been loving the experience and freedom. The issue I have been having recently is that since we have moved into our new home, it feels like my girlfriend's sister is constantly inviting herself over. For a bit of reference, myself and my girlfriend are in our mid-20s, and her sister is mid-30s. So all adults here. There was a point earlier this year where her sister would come around roughly 3 times a week for a few hours at a time, whilst we were both working from home. She would also bring her 6-year-old son at times, which has been difficult if her son has a tantrum. Kids will be kids, but preferably not when working. My girlfriend is aware that it does get on my nerves how often it happens. We have never argued about it, however, she has seen my mood drop when it happens. I've told her it can feel like being suffocated at times. However, she is close to her sister, and I'm afraid to touch the subject at times. Her sister invited herself over to stay the night with her son just last week. I didn't know about this, and it turned out my girlfriend has been pretending to be ill, so that she wouldn't come over. I feel terrible, almost as if I'm turning her against her sister by accident. Anyway, she's invited herself for dinner this week, so that will be fun. Am I the a-hole? I just like my own personal space and feel it's being invaded slightly. Not the a-hole. Talk with your girlfriend about this, and bring up that you want to set boundaries regarding people inviting themselves over and visiting. I wouldn't say you're corrupting your girlfriend because it seems that she's uncomfortable about all this as well. It's a pretty extreme reaction to just fake being sick to prevent someone from coming over, so I think she isn't as okay with it herself. Also, maybe this is just me, but I've probably never had a friend or family member come to our house unannounced. Even in situations where they're just in the neighborhood, they phone us ahead of time. Seems like a common courtesy in my opinion, especially since you mentioned in your post that she comes when you're working and brings her kid. I think it all depends how close you are with a sibling. My brother and I would 100% come into each other's house unannounced if we were in the neighborhood, but I'd never think of doing that with either of my sisters. Great relationship, just not best friend vibes. I don't think OP is the a-hole, but I would recommend OP and girlfriend sit down and talk about a compromise with the girlfriend's sister because some ground rules seem like they need to be put in place. And to my knowledge, OP doesn't even have a clue where his girlfriend head is at. Not the a-hole, but I'm afraid your girlfriend needs to grow some spine and tell her sister honestly what she thinks. And the sister herself is pretty a-hole for just invading your space with a son like this. Not the a-hole. 3 times a week is a lot. 3 times a week when the people are working from home and bringing a child is too much. You should have a conversation with your girlfriend's sister since you won't.